Facebook, buddy, Facebook, let me give you a little bit of advice. It's for you, it's not for me. Because this isn't what I want. This doesn't help me out any more than it helps you out. Just a little piece of friendly advice, Facebook. When you straight up delete people's posts because you say that it has harmful and misleading information, I know you have your reasons, but whenever we cross that line, that is some 1984 level bullshit. Now, I can understand, maybe you have to, delete a post that's pornographic, or it just shows violence that is just horrible to behold. Some of that makes sense. Usually, though, if it's violence like what's going on in other countries and stuff, and we just see the bare minimum, it's best just to give a warning. I'll tell you this much, Facebook. Whenever I was, sharing some differing opinions about the Kung flu, about the beer bug, about the sun beer virus, whenever I was sharing some stuff that didn't agree with Dr. Fauci, you guys would have quote-unquote independent fact-checkers, and you would post, this is partly misleading, this is half true, this is outright false, and you would post that, and the thing is, I didn't like that, but now that you're deleting stuff, I'm beginning to realize that you should have just stuck with that, because if I'm posting something, and you think it's true, if you think it's false or half true, you can post that little disclaimer, and that disclaimer will give people a warning, but they still have the choice to look into it themselves. There's some people, Facebook, who believe you and your independent fact checkers no matter what. So you simply posting that, even if my source has a lot of evidence behind it, you simply posting that, it will alienate some people from reading my post. You've already won some. And the thing is that if you post that and people choose to read it for themselves and decide for themselves, they're still taking into account your take on the situation. I don't see what sort of justification we have for this 1984 level of bullshit where you're just going there and you're deleting things because you think the misinformation about the Chinese virus is just so harmful. Look, Facebook, whenever you straight up delete it, it makes people wonder if I'm right and if you're corrupt. And hey, I may not be right, Facebook. But I think you really just need to go back to those independent fact checkers and just say, hey, this might be half true, this might be straight out false, to where you get a disclaimer on there, but then people have the right to look it up. Whenever you go overboard with the independent fact checkers, I may not like that, it may piss me off, but you still have some justification. You can justify it regardless of whether I agree with it or not, because you still give people the right to read it, even though you're warning them that, hey, this may be bullshit. That's fine. It's like, I may not like it, and I may even think it's part of an evil conspiracy, but as far as I'm concerned, you would technically be within your rights, even if I felt you were fucking lying, because people still have the ability to take responsibility for their beliefs and decide what they believe by reading it. But when you straight up remove something because you think it's harmful, I mean, what kind of 1984 bullshit is this? I mean, that's how you're going to get people killed. So it's like, are you just basically doing what the conservatives were trying to do after 9/11? How do I know that you're not trying to do some Nazi shit yourself? You're trying to take some stuff on the internet because you want to have a broad definition of hate speech, or a broad definition of fake news, or a broad definition of misinformation, so that you can delete things that you don't like to protect people's moneyed interests. Dr. Fauci may be brilliant, but he's a goddamn human being. He can be bribed, he can be bought, he can be corrupted. He is not divine. Yes, he may know more about the subject than I do, but he's also a human being surrounded by a bunch of rich, wealthy elites that can get him and turn him. Have you not been paying attention to politicians? Have you not been paying attention to religious leaders and celebrities? What suddenly makes Dr. Fauci the Pope? I mean, you people are seriously treating Dr. Fauci like he's an incorruptible religious leader. I swear, some of you people, mostly on the left, who are worshiping Dr. Fauci like he can't be questioned, you're worse than medieval theocrats. You're worse than medieval Christians. You have the heart, you have the organs of medieval theocrats. You could be liberal, you could be feminist, you could be atheist, you could be socialist, you could be all of these jazz. You could have a sickle and hammer tattooed on your ass. But you've got what's wrong with what you hate in religious theocrats, what you like to beat on Christians over the head with. because you're trying to make things go down to truth coming from authority instead of authority coming from truth. And if somebody's capable of being corrupted, that's just being self-aware of humanity. That would be me treating Dr. Fauci like a human being. It's like, okay, Dr. Fauci, you look like you're a cool guy. Maybe I like you. Maybe I want to believe you are good. I want to give you a chance, but I have to do a background check. And I have to consider that you could be bought. Not because I hate you because you're an intellectual, not because I hate you because you're a scientist. Those are good credentials. Those do work in your favor, but they don't negate the possibility of being corrupted. So the thing is, Facebook, I'm really beginning to think that you tried to monopolize social media so that once everybody got dependent on you, you could start censoring the truth, because you know more people have gotten addicted to getting news being shared by their friends on their Facebook feed. And then, you know, since everybody is stuck there, you're trying to turn a town into a trap. It's a trap. You want everybody dependent on the monopolized Google, on the monopolized Facebook, on the monopolized YouTube, so that once everybody is dependent on it and can't leave, then you can do whatever you want, because we're not able to easily break away from you, detox from you, start out from scratch, and make our own alternatives. It is monopoly, but on information. And I think people need to start trying to create alternative Facebooks, because if there's one thing that we have wrong in our country, it's monopolies. And it's not just in the way that we like to stereotype conservatives and capitalism in, although that's definitely it too. The things that like to call themselves liberal or progressive, they're monopolies. But they're monopolies on information. They're monopolies on entertainment. They're monopolies on the medium. They're monopolies on what you would call social justice, social activism. So that everything's in their back pocket. Everything's controlled. Everything may not be controlled down to the last molecular atom. That's impossible. But they've got just enough hooks on it to be able to pull it when they need it. And y'all are fighting so hard to try and squelch dissent. And I'm not saying all that dissent is legit. Some people can have conspiracy theories that are way out there. But we're living in an age where the conspiracy theorist is being at least somewhat validated. And I'm not here to say that we should all take every last conspiracy theory hook, line, and sinker. Just kind of like if I was religious, I would say don't take every Bible verse literal. Take some of it symbolic and realize some of it might be from an older time that doesn't make sense now. But the thing is that right now, you're getting pissed off and you're getting incredibly crazy because you realize that some people in that part of the world are realizing what's wrong with the system, are about to expose you. That's why you keep trying to infiltrate protest groups with fake protesters to undermine their message. That's why you keep trying to infiltrate the conspiracy theory community with either Nazis or Judas sheep. I love Alex Jones, but if he's a Judas sheep, then he's a Judas sheep. He fucked up, obviously, and he's not perfect. He says some mean things about millennials, and he kind of started getting mean on Muslims. He has a likable energy, but I understand what happened. He said a lot of good stuff to pull us real conspiracy theories out, and then he misbehaved whenever we attached to him so that we could have a target put on us and we could be undermined, so that whenever we tell some truth, they're saying, oh, I'm not going to listen to you because you're saying a couple of things Alex Jones said and Alex Jones is messed up. Well, the thing is, Alex Jones said a lot of legit shit. David Icke said a lot of legit shit. But the thing is that it had a hook in it because they were controlled by the CIA, so they would lure us out with legitimate bait, but it was kind of like the carrot on a stick under a box, and then they pulled it under us so that they could get us out of the picture. That was the trap. They lured us into undermining us by saying enough truth for us to add them on their friends list, and then they would either do something like Jones would have something happen to him so that the rest of us would look bad, or our groups would be infiltrated by flat earthers and Nazis who would just hijack it. In the same way that a bunch of Marxists have hijacked fandoms, in the same way that a bunch of Nazis are trying to hijack liberty movements. You know that we're figuring out what's wrong with you, which is why you keep trying to infiltrate us with wolves in sheep's clothing. And this rant's probably going on longer than I meant it to, but I'm getting really, really fed up with this nonsense where you keep trying to squelch freedom of speech, replace it with lies, and put words in people's mouths so that everybody's totally dependent on you from the truth. Because the power of belief is incredible. And the thing is, you people in authority, you only get power that we give to you. The only reason why you're in charge now is because everybody thinks that they need you, and everybody thinks that you're legit, and everybody thinks that you're telling the truth and that we can't live without you. The more we show the people that your power comes from us and not the other way around, that we're the ones who have the potential to become gods, and you're the ones who have been cast out of heaven. The further we go, the less power you have, and you can't stand it, which is why you're scrambling to just do all of these dirty tricks, anything you can to divide people or infiltrate them with Marxists or racists or just all kinds of incredible bullshit that doesn't even make sense. You are scrambling. You are a cornered animal. And unless you repent, your days are fucking numbered.